Summarizing long documents is a crucial task in NLP. In this video, we will build our project 1, which is an AI-powered text summarizer using DeepSeek AI to generate concise summaries of any input text. The use cases of AI-powered text summarizations include news summarizations, where we can quickly extract key points from articles, legal document summarization, reduce lengthy contracts to essentials, medical report summarization, where we can extract vital information from medical reports, business reports and research papers, where we can generate executive summaries, content summarization, where we can condense long blogs and articles. So if you see, there's so many use cases for them. Now, how text summarization actually works? Now, there are two main types of text summarization techniques. First one is called extractive summarization, which selects the most important sentences directly from the text. And then we have abstractive summarization, which generates a new summary using AI language generation. Now, DeepSeek AI uses abstractive summarization, meaning it creates a concise human-like summary rather than simply extracting key sentences. Let's look at setting up the AI summarizer. So first step is to install the dependencies. We'll go ahead and install request and Gradio if you don't have it. Next, we're going to build a Python script. We'll call it textsummarizer.py and add some code in there and run it. That's our step 3, which is running the script and see if it works perfectly for us. So let's go ahead, and if you see, I've created a project 1 folder here which has nothing right now. I've also opened that project 1 in my IDE over here, and I'll make sure that I am in my project 1 folder here, which doesn't have anything inside right now. So I am in my project 1 folder here, and this is my project 1. And as I mentioned, I'll go ahead and create a new file here. I'll call this text underscore summarizer.py. That's my Python file. So I'll add some code here. But before doing that, let's go ahead and follow our step 1, which is pip install request and Gradio. So this will go ahead and it will quickly install my two libraries. One was for request. Request, again, as I mentioned earlier, is a library for making HTTP request. Example, calling API, downloading web pages. In this particular case, we'll call that API where our DeepSeek is running or Olama is running. That's why we need that. Next, Gradio is a library for building easy to use web interfaces for machine learning models and applications. And that's why we have that available. And we'll be creating a web interface for this particular project. Our next step is go ahead and write our Python script here. So I'm going to go ahead and write the code here. We'll start with importing the required libraries, which we just installed. First one, request. Next one, we'll import Gradio as gr. So the request, as I mentioned, request is used to send HTTP request to communicate with DeepSeek AI API. Next, our Gradio is used to create a web-based UI for summarization function, and you'll be looking at it soon. So next is defining the API endpoint. So I'm going to create the DeepSeek API endpoint, which is running on Olama. So Olama URL HTTP localhost on port 11434/API/generate. Now, if you have not seen the previous video and you directly jumped here, I would recommend you to see that first to know how we created this. So again, this is the Olama URL which stores the API endpoint where the DeepSeek AI model is running locally, and the API listens on port 11434, which is default for Olama. Our next step is to define the summarization function. So I'm going to create a summarization function like before. We'll say summarize text, and it will take text as an parameter, which it will have to summarize. The function will send this text to DeepSeek AI API and return the AI generated summary. So I'm going to say here, uses DeepSeek AI to summarize a given text, kind of like a comment for me to know what this function does in future. Next, I'm going to go ahead and prepare the API request payload. For the payload, I'll be using model, which is DeepSeek R1. This specifies which AI model to use. In our case, is DeepSeek R1. If you want to change this to some other model that Olama supports, you can run that too. Next is a prompt where I'm saying summarize the following text and I pass the text here. This kind of the prompt defines the instruction DeepSeek AI should follow, which in our case is summarize. Next, I'm going to say stream equal to false. Now this tells the API to return the full response at once rather than streaming it in chunks. So that's what this does. If you say stream equal to true, it will give you in chunks. That's not what we want. So we are setting up stream is false. Next step is let's go ahead and make that API request. So I'm going to say request.post, which sends an HTTP post request to Olama URL with the payload, which is this payload here as JSON here. The API processes the input and generates a response and assigns it to this response variable. Next step is process the API response. Again, we're going to check if 200 okay, that's the request status code. Extract and return the AI generated summary. So for that, I'll say return response.json get. If the response is available in that response, I'll get the response which is in the key, or I'll say no summary generated if there was nothing returned back. So this is the default text if nothing is coming back inside response. Next, I'm going to say if there's an error, so else return error response text. So this will return back the error message to whoever called this function. Now let's go ahead and run a test case here. I'm going to say test summarization if name underscore underscore name equal to underscore underscore main. I'm going to say sample text is empty. I mean, this here above ensures the script only runs the test cases if executed directly, not when imported as a module. So that's why this is important here. So I'm going to go ahead and say sample text. I'm going to enter some text here. Artificial intelligence is transforming industries across the world. AI models like DeepSeek R1 enable businesses to automate tasks, analyze large data sets, and enhance productivity. With advancements in AI, applications range from virtual assistants to predictive analytics and personalized recommendations. And I'm going to close this sample text variable here. This contains the paragraph about AI, which will be summarized. So next, let's go ahead and call the summarization function and print the output. For that, I'm going to first say print summary text, and I'll say print. I'll call the function the summarize text and pass this sample text to it, and it will give me the data back. So I'm going to save this project here, go back here, clear this out, and if you see now I have that text summarization. So I'm going to say python text underscore summarizer.py. I'll run that. It will run the project and give me the summary text calling that Olama URL. Now again, we didn't use Gradio.io, which we'll be using in the next section in a little while. But while it's doing this, or there you go, it gave me the data. Just to go over the summary of what the script does, it connects to DeepSeek AI running on localhost 11434 via request. It formats the text as a summarization prompt and then sends it to the API. It retrieves the AI generated summary and returns it and prints the results right over here when the script is run. So again, this confirms that everything is working fine. If I go back here, if you see the summary is provided right here, it will also show me what it was thinking while it was summarizing based on the text that I have provided. And we have the summary right here. Next step is building a web app for summarizer. Now we have Gradio, so why not use it? Now let's build a simple web app using Gradio so users can interact with the summarizer via a web interface instead of the command prompt. Like if I give this application to my mom, she'll not understand what to do. So why not give her a web interface? For that, I'm going to first go ahead and create a Gradio interface, and then I'll run the web app. So just the change that I have to do in the existing project, I'm going to go here. I am going to remove this bottom part here, text summarization, or I'll just go ahead and comment it out. And then here, I'm going to add some code first to create a Gradio interface. I'm going to go ahead and say interface equal to gr.interface. This is how you create it. And it needs bunch of different, so this interface, the web interface needs 5 different parameters. First is fn equal to summarize text, which function of this particular is to summarize text. Inputs that I'll give is need is gr text box lines equal to 10, and placeholder over there should be enter text to summarize. Next, outputs equal to gr.text box, another text box on the right side to show me the output of the summarized text. Next, I'm going to say title equal to AI powered text summarizer. description, I'll say enter a long text and DeepSeek AI will generate a concise summary. I'll close this and that will create our interface. That's it. So let's go ahead and launch the web app by saying if underscore underscore name underscore underscore main app. I launch it by saying interface.launch. I'll save this and now let's go ahead and run this. I'm going to clear this out. Run it again. Python text summarizer. It's going to run on a particular web domain. There you go. It gave me the URL here. This is where it's running. Open my browser and open this URL. And if you see, I have this text input and output. Now, if I make it bigger, it will come next to each other. Again, it's a little bit mobile friendly too. It does help with everything. And if you see, this is our input. As you see, this input text box lines equal to 10 and I have my output which is available right here. Now I can take the same text that I have here and add this here. Make sure that it doesn't have those comment stuff. Let's see. So I have my text added here and I'm going to say submit. It's going to go and call that API and give me the data back, the summarized text right here. So all the whatever we did in command prompt here earlier, this thing we are doing it through a web interface. Now if I give this to my mom, she probably will be able to understand that, oh, this is an AI powered text summarizer. I need to enter a long text here and when I submit it, I'll get the data back or summarized text back right here, even though she'll not understand this. But again, this kind of gives you an idea of how we can create a web interface so quickly with a few lines of code, like 6 lines of code. We were able to create a web interface right here. Our next step is to enhancing the summarizer. Now, bunch of things that we can do. We can first do is adjusting the summary length. So if you remember here, what we did was we said summarize the following text. Now, instead of summarizing the following text, what I can do is I can change this to, let me just get rid of this and say summarizing the following text in one sentence. So I'll get just one sentence. Another thing that you can do is if you want a detailed like with bullets and all that stuff, I can change this and instead of saying one sentence, I can say summarize the following text in 3 bullet points. So that's another thing I can do. You can do also multi-document summarization. You can read files and then add those files. So multi-document summarization, what you can do is you can have the, okay, I think I did here. What you can do is, let's say I have a combined underscore text equal to doc1 plus, so I have one doc and I want data from another doc /n/n, and here I'll say plus doc2. So I kind of provide these documents as input parameters and then I give and I call the summarized text based on this combined text that I have based on different documents. Another thing that I can do is I can enhance the prompt engineering. There's different styles which can improve summarizations. If you know about prompt engineering, there's casual and technical. So if I want to create a casual style, I can say here, I can remove this and say explain this text in simple word. This is more on a casual style. Next thing, if you want to do it more technical, what you can do is you can say generate a technical summary. So this will give me more of a technical summary based on whatever I have provided as input. Again, these are different ways to make your make experience better based on who your users are. So I would say just try those out and let me know how it goes. Next, let's talk about deploying the summarizer. Now, you've created the app, it's on your local machine, but what if you want to deploy using Flask or Fast API? So once tested, you can deploy it using either Flask, Fast API or Streamlit for production. These are different ways developers are doing it. I'm going to show you one of them. I'm going to show you how to do deployment using Fast API. So for this, we'll follow 3 steps. First, we'll install the Fast API. Then we'll create an app file for that API, and then we can run the API. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead here, create another. Inside my project one itself, I'm going to create app.py. Again, these files are available to you in the resources folder, so you can get them in the video resources. I'm going to kill this here, clear it out, and here first I'll say pip install Fast API and uvcon. So these are the ones that help us kind of deploy these apps. So once I have that installed. I already have them installed. Next step is to create this app.py, and here I'll write some code based on what we have learned till now. So first, for the fast API, the library that we have installed, let's go ahead and import that. I'm going to say import fast API from the fast API library that we just installed. Next, I'm going to say import request. We need that. I create an app called and use the fast API in class, and then call this will create my fast API object here. Then I'll say Olama URL. This is the URL that I have which will give me kind of in localhost 11434 my models will be available here. Next, I'm going to say app.post summarize. So if you call this API in the summarize route, I'm going to say summarize text. This is the function that I need to run, and this is the text that you need to pass. And I'll say payload model DeepSeek R1 prompt summarize whatever text is passed to me, and I'll say stream is false. Next, I'll say response equal to request.post Olama URL JSON payload. This will make the request and get the response. And then finally, I'll say return response.json get response if the response is available, or say no summary generated. Now we can run this by saying uvcon app reload. This is how you can run this application. I'm going to copy this, save this file, go here and run this application. Now it's running here. Now this needs a post. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go open Postman, create a new request. If you don't have Postman installed, you can install it. This is just to test APIs. I'm going to write that URL there, and if you remember the route, it's summarized. So I'm going to say summarize, and it's a post request. So because as I mentioned, it's a post at summarize at this URL, and I'll say key. As you can see, I need text. I'll say give me a story about something. Actually, I said summarize, so it will try to summarize this. So I'm just going to leave it as it is and say send and see how it works. You can give some text here and it will summarize that text. So it's calling that API, which in here kind of making a call to Olama, and it will give me the response based on what Olama server is giving back as an API. And you can deploy this on anywhere that you want. But again, you'll also have to make sure that you deploy the actual model which will generate stuff. And again, there you go. It is thinking about it. Okay, it's thought about it, and then I think this is. I'll be happy to create a short story for you. Could you clarify what kind of story would you like? So it summarized it. At the same time, it gave me some text based on it is smart enough to know what I was looking for based on this question that I passed, and it's asking me additional questions related to this context. So I hope you were able to go through this, and just to now summarize this particular video, we built an working AI powered text summarizer. We created a web app for summarization. We explored prompt tuning and multi-document summarization, and we learned how to deploy the summarizer as an API. Now next chapter is AI based text generation, automating content creation. So stay tuned.